what's up? Welcome to the Lifeonaire Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo, and I am joined today especially by my co-host, Polish Peter. Polish Peter, how are you doing, PP?
I'm doing, excuse me, just call me PP. By the way, I cannot, for those of you who are not watching this on YouTube, I urge you to go to the YouTube and watch this in a video because I'm like the cats in the background are like, dude, it's like, this is the real Wojo, the cat lady, by the way.
The
all right?
Crazy cat guy. Dude,
yeah, the 1,500 cats.
Yeah, so I think we have to make this a thing. We're just going to find ridiculous backgrounds for the show to entertain people visually when they're watching us on YouTube. Dude, and this what makes this one even funnier is I don't like cats. Like I am terribly allergic to cats. Like I'm around a cat for like 5 minutes and I look like my face is swollen. It looks like I got punched in the face and like I'm just can't even breathe and I'm coughing and wheezing. It's just awful. So this is never going to happen in real life. These are not my real cats. And
you do look swollen though. Was this how you look?
Maybe I'm allergic to the image itself actually. So that could be. I'm a dog guy. So with that aside, and now that we've on a completely tangent, hey man, this interview that's coming up here, we got Adrian Smude. Who is a Lifeonaire student. Actually, we've both known Adrian for several years, and it's been really cool to watch him progress. I remember when he first came to the group, he kind of was a little bit lost, was a little bit confused. He had all kinds of ideas, nothing had really materialized. And as we do the interview with him, it's really cool to see like how he's really hit his stride and made some crazy things happen in his life.
Yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this particular interview because I remember when Adrian came in and he actually sat right next to me in the first retreat that he came in, and this guy knew everything. Yeah, I mean, he knew everything. He'll admit it too. And the transformation that has occurred in him from that day to where he is now, it is amazing. And I think if you start listening to this particular episode and applying some of those things that he's going to be talking about, I think you're going to end up being on the right path to getting to what you really want in life, because it's he's a perfect example of someone who just, tries it on, takes it on and starts doing stuff.
Right. And some of the things that I think you're going to want to pay particularly close attention to during this interview is we talk about vision. Making sure that you're choosing your own vision. We talk about mindset, and we talk about choosing to be around the right kinds of people. Here's the interview with Adrian Smude. All right, Adrian, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Man, it is a pleasure. You are someone, by the way, some of you guys are going to decide to find Adrian and follow him on Facebook now. After this interview. And I got to tell you, dude, you are, I don't know if famous or infamous is a word for your proclivity for Speedos and
neon shirts. And,
yeah.
Some interesting backgrounds.
You have what?
2 items of clothing, this shirt and a Speedo.
Oh yeah. So by the way, if you're listening to this right now, you got to go over to YouTube for 2 reasons. One, is I have an awesome background going in the video right now. And by the way, you're gonna have to check it out for yourself. I don't want to tell you what it is, but Adrian is also wearing the other article of clothing that he is well known for. And we gotta dive into this later, man, but this will lead into what we're talking about. And this shirt says, "My wife buys mobile homes," and it has a phone number. And it's like super obnoxious fluorescent yellow that gets people like, I mean, you can't just stop and not look at this guy. And which is kind of, brilliant marketing, by the way, super clever, and it's really, really cool. But Adrian, for people who don't know you, what do you do right now? Like, what's your gig? Like, what's life look like for you, and what kind of business are you in?
Well, my wife, as my shirt says, buy mobile homes, and our main business is we buy them and rent them out. We've done that for a few years now. I started out in the normal single family arena, just buying like the block homes that are nice and fancy to stand in front of and take a picture. A lot of people wouldn't be proud to stand in front of something that I'm sitting in front of right now.
And by the way, what Adrian's referring to, if you're listening right now, is his background is one of his mobile homes. Is this prior to purchase or after? Like,
we purchased it like this.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
And because of Lifeonaire, Lifeonaire helped me with my vision, realize what we really wanted, why we were buying real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And that was to have cash flow.
Okay.
Because we eat off of cash flow. And so then we switched our model over to mobile homes because they had a higher cash flow for the dollars that we put in, higher ROI.
Got it.
We started feeling it was working. I mean, we ran with it.
So
I was gonna say, a few years later, I mean, I was able to replace my wife's income, retire my wife before she turned 30, which I didn't fully believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't believe it was going to happen when I was first challenged for
it. And your wife, like, you know, and so I have the privilege of knowing you guys, and actually it's been a really cool progression to see how you guys have come along, not only as a couple, but to see your business flourish. Because I remember there was a point where she, I would say, had some doubts as to your ability to pull this off. Right. And by the way, we're talking about, so your wife doesn't have like it's not like she's working a minimum wage job. She was a nurse, like a full-time nurse. And you've been able to replace her income through your investing, which is fantastic, man. Tell me, like, so cash. So when you created your vision for this, was it purely the cash flow that drove you to mobile homes, or were there other parts of this business that you liked?
I think cash flow was what originally brought me to it. And then as I got into this realm a little bit more, I realized that there's a lot more of the stereotypical slumlords in the mobile home area than there are in the single family. And I like to do my part of breaking that stereotype that all landlords are pieces of crap and they don't care about their tenants. And this is a part of the landlord sphere that probably has the higher stereotype, the bad stereotype. So I get a pleasure of breaking that stereotype and doing my part to help our tenants out.
What I'm hearing is you're a rebel.
Yeah.
You just do whatever you want. But listen, I know
I'm joking around. I do whatever my wife wants.
Right. All right. That's more like it. Okay. But listen, I'm joking about the rebel part, but here's the thing. Isn't it that up until, you came and, let's say, for instance, the retreat, you were working on creating your life, how the world was basically saying, this is how you need to do, right? Learning all kinds of stuff and all that kind of things, right? And then, you started looking at mobile homes and looking at doing what you just said, how you said it, investing that way. So what changed for you that had you go and, okay, I'm going to go after this particular way, and I'm going to, what was the shift that happened for you that had you like go and start being a little more successful?
The drill down of the why, just that being drilled down. Why do I want real estate? Why do I want to be a landlord? Why do I want the cash flow? And the freedom, the financial freedom, that term that gets thrown around a lot. But I mean, just the freedom of being able to work if we want, we don't have to because we have the cash flow coming in. I mean, to Wojo's point that my wife is an RN, she works as a PRN, which means if they need her, she's able to work. If not, she doesn't have to work. She enjoys her job so much more now because she doesn't have to go in. And she volunteers to go in a lot because she gets satisfaction out of helping. Mm-hmm. And I didn't expect her to continue working as much as she does. She loves it. But it was a mental shift that she can say no.
Well, how cool is that when, there's a big difference when you have to versus, this is what you said, there's a big difference when you have to versus get to. Same thing for me. Like I remember when I was, but way back in the day, I was doing some personal training and stuff. When I got to do that, I got to really specifically choose when I wanted to do it, how much I wanted to do it, with who I wanted to do it. It was very different than if that was a full-time source of income for me. And so it's just this freedom around that that's super, super liberating. Are you a natural entrepreneur, would you say? Like, did you like what, and I know, we've spoken prior to the interview about some of the resistance you actually got about moving down this path from some of your friends, and how kind of like people were, you know, I don't know if it's accurate to say they were making fun of you for this, or they were just ribbing you about it, about going down this path. So you didn't have, it sounds like, a whole lot of support in your corner. Is that accurate?
So the entrepreneur side of it, yes. Almost everyone in my family, they're entrepreneurs. So I had that already. Good. And on that note, my parents have always believed in me, no matter what I was going to do. Probably some of the times they shouldn't have, but they still believed in me, supported me. So that is something I've realized in recent years is such a big deal that a lot of people don't have. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But on the other side, yes, I have friends that make fun of me for being a slumlord, which I do take pretty offensive because as I mentioned, I go after breaking that stereotype. Right. And, you know, buying trashy trailers, you know, look, the one behind me, things like that. So, and that, you know, I'm not going to make it. Yes, I had that for sure. And just over time, and just being able to push through that, people start coming around when you do well. And all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, I knew you'd make it.
So how you avoid listening to those people, naysayers? What got you through?
Listening to the people that are supporting. I just worked on not reading the negative ones as much and reading the positive ones. And the rebel side of me wanted to prove people wrong. So that was a little bit of a motivation for me.
Right. Do you think that why had anything to do with that too?
Mainly. Getting Aaron out of having to work was probably the biggest why. And I had a little trouble finding a bigger one after we accomplished that, after that, which was, I did, but that was a challenge because that was my big why.
And is your bigger why now, is it have to do with breaking the stereotype of a slumlord, or is it something else?
So this year it is more about being bored. It's because I've been an overworker. And I've enjoyed what I do. I really do, but I still enjoy being home with my wife. So if I'm at 4 RIA meetings a week, that means I'm not home seeing my wife 4 days a week at night. So I've just learned what I want to be more important. And because we've made it to a point where I don't feel like I have to be out there marketing all the time, wearing my shirt different places, and just picking what's been important. And the whole COVID pandemic that everyone's, you know, worried about being home and claustrophobic from just not leaving their house for weeks. It's been a funny little ride that I wanted to slow down, and the world forced me and put me in a position to challenge me to be. And it's been good.
That's awesome. So for those of you who aren't familiar with so Adrian mentioned RIA. RIA stands for Real Estate Investors Association. If you're not in the real estate investing niche, you wouldn't know that. So it's basically a meeting, and so that's really cool, man. So that's evolved, and you know, I got to tell you, like, we're seeing this a lot with people that are, you know, in this kind of quarantine situation. People are either deciding like, hey, this is way cooler than I thought it would be. I mean, now don't get me wrong. I don't mean cool like, you know, people are dying, this side of things, the tragic side. I almost said tragical. That's not even a word. Sorry, guys. The tragic side of things. But like what this has resulted in your life as far as slowing down work, being around family more, you know, spending more time doing different things. Some people have absolutely loved it. And they're like, wow, this is like a preview of what I want. And I got to move in this direction. Now, other people have realized like, hey, you know what? There's a lot of things I miss, and it's helped them appreciate those things more and have gratitude for those things. And so it's an interesting response that people are seeing right now, I think, in regards to like how this is all playing out for them. That's really, really cool. And so as you've moved down this path, what are some of the things like, you know, you persevered through this, you made it happen one step at a time. Like, what do you think some of the things, but a lot of people don't, like a lot of people, you know, want to get their spouse out of their job. A lot of people want to, you know, get to work versus have to work. What are some of the things specifically that you think have been assets to you, or that you've learned, or that have allowed you to succeed where other people's fail?
As we've already kind of alluded to, surrounding myself with positive-minded people.
Okay.
People that are better than me in the sense of further along mentally. I've found that the modeling of people that have a positive mindset, that are what I consider to be successful.
Okay.
And just kind of following what they're doing. It just hit me one day listening to another YouTube video that these guys are where I want to be, and I'm not doing what they're doing. Why do I think that I'm smarter, better than them, and I can reinvent the wheel? That's that rebel side being a negative.
Okay, yeah.
Me.
So there was part of you that wanted to do it your own way.
Yeah.
To start, and you're like, no, I'm going to pave my own path. Then it sounds like you had a revelation. You're like, well, hold on a second here. If these people are already doing it, why wouldn't I learn from their mistakes, their experiences, and their expertise, and then kind of just model them a little bit, and just do the same things, right? Not only, it's like these are the people that have gotten to where I want to go. Like let's follow the same path they went down, or at least your version of that path.
Yeah, and I would hear the same thing over and over and over again. Like say writing in the morning, you'd hear someone talking about just brain dumping, and then someone talking about journaling. And they would just reword saying the same thing. And there's a lot of things like that. The Miracle Morning has been huge for me. And it's Hal Elrod Sabers. There's 7 things that he claims that all the successful people do. And he combined them all. And then I just started hearing that, Tony Robbins would talk about, he does one of them and he swears upon that. And someone else would swear upon that. And I'm like, these guys know what they're doing. Let me just try it. And that's been, I don't know, at least 3.5 years. I haven't missed a day.
Wow. Couple of things that I heard from you just sharing this little tidbit is, one, I remember when I first met you, you were that guy who was reinventing the wheel. I mean, you knew everything, right? And then something shifted for you and you said, well, I'll just model these people, right? And that is the right path to do. And you were proof of that. And the second thing that I heard that you said about aligning yourself with successful people who already are where I want to be. And you said mentally. And then you said successful. My view of successful doesn't necessarily mean it's just money, right? And I think that's an important aspect. Can you talk a little bit about that? What exactly does that mean?
So I think one of the great examples is Grant Cardone. He's very successful by a lot of people's means, and I like a lot of his stuff, but the fact of never eating without it being a business meeting, never stopping to work, producing content all the time, like that just looks tiring. I can't even watch all of his content to keep up. I don't know how he's producing it all. And, a lot of people look up, and I think he produces some good stuff, but that's just overboard, and that's not the success I want.
Right. And that's an important question. That's not the success I want. Because I think a lot of people, when they are looking for, reading the books or looking the YouTubes and all that kind of stuff, and they're looking for these people, they're not very clear that this is the success that I want. And they start following these people, and then they end up in like, what happened here, right? Why am I in this place and not somewhere else? So that's a really good insight, I think. That's going to help a lot of people.
What I did take, I took a little bit from different people of the Omnipresence. That's something big I took from Grant Cardone. Not taking this shirt off. This is all I wear. That was something that came from him good. But then I want to be more like the millionaire next door that, I don't look like I maybe work a lot, or I look like I, just have a normal life. That's the life I want. But then I took the good out of what I felt was good out of these different people.
Yeah. Can you elaborate about the Omnipresence? Because some people, I don't think they know exactly what that is.
So if you were to look on my Facebook or basically ever see me in the last probably 2 years, this is all you've seen me wear. It annoys
you have more than
wife.
one shirt, right?
Yeah, you're right.
2 shirts. I always have one in the wash. No, I do have a bunch of them, but this is all I wear, and it's even caused little arguments here and there with my wife because she wants to go out and me not be wearing this at times. So recently we made a compromise, and I made a belt buckle of the same thing. So now I can dress up nice.
Hold on a second, man. I got to pause right there. I can only picture this right now. You're walking around and you see someone sees this big belt buckle and they're like zoning in on your like crotch area, and your wife must be like, "That's my husband."
So
I find that interesting that out of everything you chose.
Right, that's what you chose. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it when we first made it, and then that was one of the first comments whenever I wore it the first time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so tiny leather still.
Dude, that's awesome, right? Yeah.
On the note of the shirt, though, I think something that is important to point out, I don't think I had a comment by me wearing this for at least 6 months, wearing it around. I was getting a little frustrated, so I made it back up a little more. I made it because I didn't want to break the ice and tell people what I was doing. That just wasn't really me, and I was a little shy. So I figured I wear this shirt, I'll make a shirt. I didn't want the normal I buy houses who came up with this. And then no one said anything. No one approached me about it. And now I can't go 2 or 3 days without someone saying something. And I've thought back about this a lot of what changed. And the only thing that changed was my confidence in wearing it. Nothing else changed in public. And that's been huge. It's just me wearing it with more confidence is why I get approached.
Dude, so pause there for a second. Tell me about that. Like, I want to hear about that side of things, because I have no doubt that your business in itself, as you started having more confidence in what you do, your business also grew, financially and profitably as well. Where did that confidence come from? Like, what was the switch for you? Like, how did that happen?
Obviously by doing deals and, it working out. That's the obvious confidence that was starting. And what I think really started switching it is, I'm always in this all over Facebook. That's all I ever wear. And I would start getting messages from people I didn't know saying something along the lines of, Mark told me to message you. You're the mobile home guy in the area. I was kind of like, what? And as that started happening over and over, I was like, I guess I am. And that really helped my confidence. And as I would just tell people what I'm doing, and it would help them. And that was huge for me.
Yeah. And I think one other thing that I'm hearing from this is anything that we do in life, whether it's marketing, because in a way you are like a marketing board, you're like a billboard walking around, right? Mm-hmm. But anything that we do in life, there is a lag time. And I think a lot of people totally miss that, right? You said first 6 months, nothing was happening. I get it. The confidence improved and all that kind of stuff because you start doing deals, people start reaching out to you. But in life, people, when you first start doing something, they start testing you, right? They start looking like, is this guy for real? What's going on? And then all of a sudden, after you keep doing it and don't give up, you keep doing it because you never give up, right? And that's an important thing. And then you start seeing some results. But that was, I think, another important aspect, don't you think?
Yeah. And the momentum.
Yeah.
I've heard it called that. And that has definitely been true. It's just, I'm on a momentum ball right now. Things are just going right. And then it makes it easier to get up in the morning and do what I got to do because I know it's been working. I know what I've been doing. That's why the miracle morning, I'm scared to stop it because that is one of the things that's when I started doing that, things got better. I don't know if that's why or if it's something else that was correlation, but it's not worth the risk of stopping to me.
So I don't want to create and correct me if this sounds off to you, but I'm in my mind creating a mental path of how this played out for someone who's listening or watching right now. Like, what are the actual steps that happened here? And so in my mind, I'm putting this together. You had some idea of what was most important to you. And so, maybe you tinkered here for a little bit, but once you figured out the cash flow was a big thing for you, you found the business that fits your personality and your needs. And then from there, not having a whole lot of confidence and not having a lot of modeling to start with didn't help for sure. You get around high quality people who are doing what you want to do. You start modeling them, And so, and by the way, there's a step of humility there involved too, in realizing you don't know it all, and letting go of that inner rebel. So you get around other high quality people, you start modeling them, you start seeing results, which then build your confidence, which then of course snowball your results in your business to the point where, and by the way, I want to pause here because I think, listen, I am not against affirmations, incantations, whatever you want to call them. But in my belief, you have to start seeing results at some point. Otherwise that confidence never materializes. You have to at some point start seeing some proof in the pudding. And then when you say like, wow, I really actually did this. I did this deal. I made this money. I accomplished this thing. Then that really reinforces that and catapults that confidence to a whole new level. Yes, I think there's a place for affirmations and stuff, but you got to, at some point, if you just, I think Jim Rohn said like, affirmation, what he said, affirmations without actions is the beginning of or something like that. Right. And so you put this into place, you actually took action, saw results, build your confidence, and then you took more action. Right. And so that it just became a cycle till you got to where you are now. And you've gotten your wife out of your job, and your cash flowing, and your investments have sustain your lifestyle. How does somebody get around? So one of the keys here, I think, is really getting around the right people. Like how did you find that? Like what's your advice for some people that don't have those people around them?
So before I go to that, I do want to touch on the affirmations or incantations.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard one for me to start doing because it was the fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like that idea. Actually, I think it was at my first Lifeonaire retreat, I really pushed back on someone that brought it up. And now incantations, I think, are one of the most powerful things I do daily.
Mm.
And I learned that putting one out too far. So say before even buying the first deal, trying to say that I live off of rental income. That's just so far out, it's not believable. And then it's not going to work because I don't believe it as I say it.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of baby stepping myself into the incantations, just going to the next level and saying it. And then when I get close to that, upping the incantation to something else. Now mine aren't all business. Actually, most of my stuff these days that I focus on is not business. It's more just mindset. That's been my, I'll say, philosophy on incantations. But for surrounding the right people, Lifeonaire has been huge for me with that. People ask me often, what do I get out of it? And my two biggest things, I believe, which is hard to narrow down to two, is accountability and confidence. That I have a group that is a cheerleader behind me, pretty much no matter what. Doesn't mean I'm not challenged, but I have this cheerleading group that is always there. Even when they challenge me, they're there for the right reason, challenging me, not just putting me down and saying I can't do it. And the accountability, those two have just been huge. So, I still remember, I don't remember which retreat it was, but so we're supposed to come to the retreat with a challenge or a problem or something. And I went to that one just to gloat. I had never really been able to do that. It's just to gloat without negative feedback. And that's all I wanted in that one. I didn't ask for, and no one gave me anything else because they realized that's all I wanted. I wanted to brag on what I've done because it was a safe environment to be able to do that. And everyone just supported me in it.
That's awesome, man. And would you say, subtle encouragement for people to get involved with Lifeonaire? You guys already know we have an app out there, so go over to get the free app. How about, have you removed yourself from the negative influences, or have they come around, or it doesn't bother you anymore?
Removed totally? No. What's the saying? You move people from daily friends to lunch friends or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I've done a little bit of that, and I still have the belief that I don't need to get rid of these friends. I can mentally fight through and just become okay. One thing I repeat myself when people, I'll say, are negative to me, I just tell them, they really do care. They are maybe looking out for me because they think it's a dangerous move for me to make, to buy a mobile home that looks terrible, and they're scared of it. So they're looking out for me by trying to convince me not to do it. So they really care. They have good intentions. And I believe most people do. And once I switch my mindset to that, it doesn't affect me as much as it used to.
Well, and the other side of it, I would say that the reason why, you keep doing that, because it's like when you go to the gym, you practice with the weights, right? You can't build a muscle without weightlifting, right? So having those kinds of situations and people in your life actually helps you with your mental muscle, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's going to be different for everyone. Like, some people I think are going to be like Adrian and he's gotten to a place in his life where he knows how to handle that. And then other people need to remove themselves fully because they haven't built that muscle yet. And everybody's probably different, but I think what I'm hearing from you, Adrian, is like maximizing for sure the positive influences and minimizing the negative influences is important. And I remember, I love this quote I heard of all places on Facebook. Never take criticism from someone you wouldn't go to for advice. And I'm like, wow, like that one hit me. Right. And so
I should stop listening to you.
Right. I'm sorry. Did Peter say something? I heard a little bit of a weird.
I think we were just Zoom bombed.
Yeah, Zoom bombed. And
Zoom bombed. That's right. Yeah.
Right. Awesome, man. Well, listen. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners or viewers, like before you roll out?
Yeah. The belief that it can happen. This came up last night in conversation, and so doing my morning routine and the visualization and just believing that something can happen even though I haven't proven it yet. So we'll say getting my wife out of where she has to work. One of the times that it really proved true to me is, so my wife and I got into cycling and we ride a tandem bike, and we were training for a cross Florida ride. I think it's 160, 70 miles. And I did a lot of visualization of my foot work and just getting there, going through it all. And we had never ridden 100 miles before we drove over to the other coast to start riding. And Aaron was a little concerned. Now, we had done like 97, so we were so close, but we hadn't done 100. And that was a big deal that, I just kept saying, nope, we're going to make it, no problem. And we made it. I mean, it was not saying it was easy, but we made it, and I knew ahead of time that we would make it. There was no doubt in my mind that we wouldn't make it. I just wanted to make it less painful during the trip. And most of that, I think, was just the mental side of it. I just didn't have the question of no, like in my head. So
just not having no it's not an option.
It really wasn't an option. I think when Aaron even brought up, like, are we going to make it or not? Beforehand, I was a little confused because I hadn't even thought of that. All my head was thinking about is it going to be extremely painful, or am I going to actually be able to carry a conversation while we're writing? Like, those were my two extremes, and it was somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, dude, that's super powerful. So whatever it is in life that you want to accomplish, not giving no. Or you're not going to make it as an option is incredibly powerful. There is no plan B. You're just going to do it and make it happen. Dude, I want to thank you for being on the Lifeonaire show. And I want to let you know that you are an inspiration to others. And guess what? People are going to be modeling you now to see how you do this. So that's going to be another element for you. Yeah. Right. So people, I think you give people a lot of hope and encouragement and inspiration that they can make this happen as well. And you've shared a lot of great nuggets that I think everyone needs to go back and listen to this again. And I look forward to talking to you again, man. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right, man. So I'll tell you, that was a great interview. I can't help but be taken with a few of the things Adrian said. And particularly for me, the thing that really hit me personally is being around the right people. Like, that is just such an important piece to people's success that I don't know if everybody gets how important that is. I know for me, like, I'm looking back at my life, and I've said this before, I have no qualms with admitting that I have benefited from this principle throughout my life. I even look back, man. So those of you guys who are listening to this right now probably don't know this, but I'm a fairly introverted person, believe it or not. And I can pull out.
That's the cats.
Yeah. Meow. And like, so the way this played out for me is like, I was introverted, right, when I was young. And well, guess who else is introverted when you're young? It's kind of like the dorky kids, right? It's the nerdy kids, the kids that aren't super athletic or social. And so I found myself kind of hanging out with them. Well, guess what? I didn't make friends easily, so I wanted to hang out with them. And guess what? They were in the smarter classes, like the more advanced classes. And so just literally as a result of wanting to be around them and being scared to interact with other people, I followed them into those smart classes. And listen, I was the dumbest kid in the smart classes, but guess what? I raised up and I was a product of and result of benefiting from those, benefiting from being stretched and challenged. And so that's been my whole life. Like, and being around other high quality people, I'm not talking about you, Peter, here, by the way, sorry. Has really
That's all right, because what I just heard, and I think every single listener on this call heard, is that I am the smarter one on this particular podcast.
On this podcast.
It's all good.
We might have to take a poll on that one, but seriously, like this has been a real life principle that has benefited me tremendously in every area, even right. Like when I was in my bodybuilding stuff, like being around people that are better than me, right? Just constantly being around that. How about you?
Right. I totally agree with that because, when I'm in Lifeonaire, I always look to surround myself with somebody who's smarter. And listen, it's not just one area. It's so many different areas, right? And better, like someone who has raised 5 kids probably knows a little bit more about when you don't have any kids and you're trying to have a kid, right? Maybe, or it's a business or it's a spiritual, right? Someone who's been spiritually in his life for the last 10, 20 years, probably is a lot more spiritually mature than you are when you're just starting out, right? So, but the important thing out of that is to recognize that you have to be humble. You have to be curious. You have to be, the person who is okay with asking the questions, right? Because you have to ask the questions. You have to be that person who comes into that group and says, listen, help me. I'm here. What can I learn, right? And be okay with that. So, and I think that's a huge benefit.
So 2 things there that I think are really important. One is that you just said is it's totally unique and dependent on different parts of your life. Because you could have somebody, like you said, who's an awesome parent, but also guess what? They need help with their health. Or maybe someone makes a lot of money, but they have these other issues in their life. So finding those people that you can model in each different areas is really, really important. And so that's super, super important. The other thing is being humble, like you said, and this is where just because you're good in one area of your life, don't let that pride or arrogance sabotage you from improving to the next level or growing in that area even further than you already have, or in another area. Sometimes people, when you're really good at something, they will cling to that because that's where their identity starts coming from. And that's where their confidence starts coming from. And it really does nothing but sabotage you. Like it doesn't help at all. So be humble enough to realize like you can always learn and grow in every area.
Yeah, I mean, you guys probably have heard me, if those of you who have heard me before know about me, the whole thing about Polish Peter and me making fun of myself and all that kind of stuff. It comes from a place of being humble because I know that when I come into that place and I actually can have conversations with people, I can learn a lot from others, right? And so I'm always looking to improve, to put myself around other people. And I think that has helped me tremendously in life. And that's what Adrian has been sharing here on this particular podcast. Because if you look at his success, if you knew Adrian 3 years ago to where he is now, it's like day and night. And it is such an amazing transformation. And I didn't get to ask him on the podcast, what's next, but I can only imagine what's next for this guy. I think he's a go-getter. He's going to make things happen. And he's going to be, his wife is going to be buying a whole bunch of other, mobile homes or whatever it might be to live their life.
Just a real cool story of a regular guy who just made it happen. And it's been awesome. And I have no doubt people are going to start flocking to Adrian and he didn't talk about this as well, but speaking of confidence, before the podcast, before we started rolling, he was talking about Toastmasters. and how he's trying to become a better speaker because that was something he was terrified of and not very good at, and he wanted to improve on. And as he does that, now I think he wants to start sharing his message with other people to inspire them. And so it's awesome. He lives these principles throughout his life, and there's a lot of gold here for people looking to do the same for themselves. All right, awesome. Listen, a few things. Number one, if you haven't joined the Lifeonaire app, I don't know what you're waiting for, man. Like, what do we got to tell people? Right, this is awesome. You got to get over there. There's awesome conversations, great discussions, topics. You can ask questions. You can actually get input. I'm over there. Steve Cook, the founder of Lifeonaire, is over there. Peter is over there. And so we got all kinds of people, be part of the conversation and start. And also we have a fast start kit, which has a lot of Lifeonaire free resources for you to start living this. So go check that out.
And to a point from this particular podcast about surrounding yourself with the right people, the like-minded people, this is a great place to do that. And you get access to it for free. So go over there, surround yourself, introduce yourself to the community and say that you heard this podcast and you're looking for like-minded people, and you'll be surprised who can actually answer and maybe create some new friendships or kind of, get something new in your life. So go over there and was it lifeonaire.com / where do they go for the app?
You should have known this in advance before you said that, by the way, but that's okay. I do it all the time. Lifeonaire, well, actually the app, you just go to the app store, but if you're looking for the desktop version, just go to lifeonaire.com and there's a link for the app, and you can just click on that and it'll bring you right to the desktop version. If you want to go there directly, it's just lifeonaire.groupfire.com. Just go to lifeonaire.com. That's the easiest place to find it. As always, we would love to hear from you. Please leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast, and we can't wait to see you next time. Thanks for your time and for tuning into the Lifeonaire Show, where we help you create a life and business you love. See you next time.